3 series. Mob War, about the Philadelphia mob, and Joey Merlino, what I'm going to talk about, and Fear City, about the 5 crime families in New York. And for a bonus, I'm going to be throwing in the other series they did on John Gotti. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. And folks, I want to say, okay, every time they mention the word mafia or organized crime, I'm going to change it to Italians. You want to know why I'm changing it to Italians? Did you see my live video last week when I gave you proof that Italians were not considered white? Okay? And what it took and how it finally came? You got to see that video. President Richard Nixon signed the RICO law in 1970 to provide a federal tool for prosecuting leaders of Italian crime. The law was designed to combat the Italians and other criminal organizations that were difficult to prosecute because of their structure. RICO, which by the way is an Italian name, okay? RICO is Italian, yes it is. It allows prosecutors to go after Italian enterprises and their leaders by charging them with a pattern of racketeering activity, not just individual crimes. It gave the FBI and other law enforcement more power to target these groups and dismantle their operations. Targeting Italian bosses, a key goal was to allow prosecutors to target Italian leaders who order criminal acts but remain hands-off from direct involvement. This made it possible to hold them accountable for their crimes committed by others. You see where I'm coming from, folks? Have you watched those Netflix series? If you haven't, you got to, because I'm going to explain it to you, all right? But let's first talk about how the RICO Act, all right, became a reality. It was written by Robert Blakely, who was a U.S. Senate consul who drafted the Racketeer Influence and Corruption Organization, which they nicknamed RICO, Italian again, okay? Under the supervision of John McClellan, the Italian Act was then signed into law by President Richard Nixon as part of an Italian Crime Control Act of 1970. Okay? Folks, I tried several times to get a hold of Robert Blakely. He lives in North Carolina now. He has not returned my phone calls or my email. So obviously he does not want to discuss this law, which I feel is illegal and unconstitutional. And it is. Definitely, by all means. Now, let's break down the series. All right? And the mob war, about the Philadelphia mob, they go back to Nicky Scarfo, John Staffa, right up to Joey Merlino, okay? And all you see in this here, folks, you see the FBI, U.S. Attorney, and the informants. Yes, informants. Or rats. That's what you see. Talking and brazenly bragging about what they were doing and how they were bringing down the Italians. Now, one thing that stood out of attention to me was when Joey and Merlino got indicted, him and a few of his guys, on the cocaine conspiracy, okay? Why did that stand out to me? Stood out to me because the same thing happened to me, okay? We don't just go and sensually dream up about crimes. Yeah, we do. We work every day. We're hard-working Italians, all right? Folks, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please hit that like button and all those other things, okay? It disgusted me watching the FBI and these informants gloating and bragging how they brought us down, okay? Joey Merlino got acquitted of those charges on the cocaine conspiracy because those cocaine conspiracies were set up and organized by the FBI with informants. Informants with rats, with people who took an oath, who pledged to live their life with that oath, but they broke it. Why do you take an oath if you're going to break it? All right? I took an oath one time in my life on something that I have never discussed. I will never discuss it with anybody, and I never discussed it with my children. The FBI will go above and beyond any means they can to get the Italians. Back in the 90s, they tried to get me to cooperate. I would not cooperate. I refused. I taped the FBI. That was a big mistake. I had 12 tapes of FBI agents talking about how they only wanted to bring down Italians. I had to go on record. Jimmy Cacci, I gave one tape. Jimmy Cacci was the underboss, and he grew up with Joe Todaro in Buffalo. He flew back to Buffalo. Joe Todaro had a great pizza restaurant out there, still in, what's it called, Nova, something like that. All right, Joe was a great guy. I loved Joe and his son, Joe Jr., and his grandson is Joe, too, okay? So they played a tape. They called me up. Joe was laughing like hell, and Joe wanted me to continue doing that so that we knew what the FBI was. But Jimmy says, all right, you got to stop this. So when Jimmy came back, he left that tape on his dining table. Jimmy and I had to go collect money from somebody, and Jimmy was out on bail. And about a week later, they brought Jimmy in for preponderance of evidence, okay, which he got out for eventually. But Jimmy's car was in my garage. And a lawyer was supposed to pick it up to bring it down to Jimmy's house in Palm Springs. Instead, he sent Kenny Gallo. Kenny had been working with the FBI for years. And when he had the keys, he had Jimmy's house key. And he found that tape and brought it to the FBI. And the FBI had him put it on YouTube. Still there, folks. Yeah. See the headlines trying to call me a rat. That was to try to pressure me. It was a tactic they used to try to pressure me into becoming an informant with them. They figured if they got the fear into me that I would. But I didn't, folks. So it's there. You can find it someplace, all right? I pay no attention to it. My lawyers try to get it off. YouTube won't take it off because he posted it, all right, using Teddy Persicle's name, all right? Thank you, Dick and Sherry. Thank you, everybody, for coming here this morning. Okay, I really seriously appreciate it. Okay, so you see how Joey Bellino, they beat that card in Philadelphia. He's still got time for other things, all right? I happen to know Joey. I haven't not met him yet, okay, but we're speaking a few times. I like him. He's a stand-up guy. All right, very charismatic, too. Charismatic, I say it right, okay? All right, so that was on the Philadelphia mob. But what I detected and what I see from there, okay? And the same thing in Fear City about the Italians, the 5 families there. All right? How the FBI get the permission, get a judge to sign a warrant to put a wire into a social club, your house, or other places. They deceived the judge. They are the liars. They know how to work the law to get what they need, okay? They know. And they work and work to get an informant, to get information from, to lie. Otherwise, they couldn't make a case. Obviously, I'm upset with this, folks, and you know. But you gotta watch this show, and you'll see it's all about why did they keep getting rats to narrate these shows? Why? I don't know why. Maybe you have the answer. All right? If you do, leave me a comment with that there. All right? You got it right, Mark. They word it so they get that warrant to put in a bug. And look at the FBI. They got more manpower, they got more money, they got more time. How they went after Joey Merlino. How they went after the guys in the 5 families to bring down the commission, okay? Aussie, you want $5 for that painting? You got it, buddy. All right, I'll sell it to you for $5. Everyone loves that painting by Anton Richard, okay? Not bad. Now you change it to pesos, huh? Cool. All they want is the Italians, the Italians, the Italians. I am disgusted. Those shows were terrible, folks. No, they give you a lot of information if you don't know what to look for. Now, I see things a lot differently than most people because I was indicted under RICO. I studied that RICO Act. And it gave the FBI and the U.S. Attorney, the ability to lie and get away with it. When I was locked up in Brooklyn, you got to remember, all us Italians got together to help each other out, okay? Because we knew the RICO better than our lawyers did, okay? Five-year federal time, that's what I did, 62 months, all right? Let's talk about, you all seen Fear City. They talk about the New York crime families all the time, all right? All right, but you know, they use Joey Merlino primarily in the Philly mob war. Let's talk about John Gotti. Do you see how the NYPD and the FBI were fighting over who can get John Gotti first? The lie, the concealment, how they concede each other. You got the NYPD here, the FBI here, and they're lying, and the FBI won't let the NYPD know that they got a bug in the Ravenite Social Club. And they were pissed because John Gotti kept winning and winning his trials and being acquitted. On one trial, the U.S. Attorney, Jacka, she was a female. And, you know, if you notice, they use female U.S. attorneys a lot. Okay, they go after you with a vengeance. Okay, all right. I'm going to do that. Agent Orange just asked me a question. Can you give us an example how anyone can be added to a RICO off of a witness line? Okay. Let's go back to John Gotti, and I'm going to ask you a question here. Okay? They went after John Gotti like nobody I ever seen in my life. And they were bragging and bragging and bragging. The FBI. It's like they had nothing else to do. Like there's no other crime, but they got to go after the Italians. It was not until the last trial where Sammy, Locascio, and John Gotti were locked up. And Sammy Gravano made the phone call to the FBI that he wanted to cooperate. Yes, Sammy made the phone call. The FBI did not go to him to try to get him to cooperate. He picked up the phone, called them. That's how it began. And with Sammy, John Gotti went down. And Locascio. That's how they got him. But what you see, you gotta watch those shows, folks. I think they're all by the same person, same production company that did them all. And they use the same rats in every one of them. And it just irritated me a lot. Agent Orange, I think it was, asked me that question, okay? Let me answer it. When I was indicted on RICO, I was indicted for a home invasion robbery and a cocaine conspiracy of 50 kilos or more. 50. That's life in prison. How it began, I used to have a Jamaican kid that I took care of, was under me out here. He was a big drug dealer, and he dealt in North Carolina. He shipped his drugs from here to North Carolina. He got busted. I got him lawyered up. They have him in downtown MDC in Los Angeles here. Okay? And his wife came to me because he had cocaine on the streets that he got from the Mexicans. Okay? And the guys in New York owed him $500,000. So she came to me, and she came to me with a Mexican. At the same time, the Sonny franchise, he guaranteed, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do a show. Sonny franchise was one of the toughest guys ever. He's a legend, unequivocally, no question about it. But he guaranteed and made more rats than most people ever. And I'm going to tell you how he did it. And I don't want to say bad things, but you know that he had 2 sons to become rats. So I'm not lying about that, okay? All right, but let's talk about the other. Guy Furtado, a big, tough guy. Like I say, it's always the big, tough guys that become the rats, okay? All right, Guy Furtado. He explicitly guaranteed him to me. And he sent them out from New York to come. Guy Furtado was sitting on my couch when Ricky's wife came with the Mexicans. And he had a wire. It was in his watch, the Rolex watch that he wore that we finally found out. Okay? So I happen to know the guys in New York who owed Ricky the money. And right there, I picked up the phone. All right, and I called. I said, why aren't you paying? They said, Ricky don't understand, okay? It's taking us longer because we're turning it into crack, okay? But we got 100,000 now. And here's Furtado says, I could have one of my guys pick it up tonight. We said, that's cool. We said, we'll pick it up. Somebody will be coming. Hey, after all, Sonny guaranteed this guy, right? You know who picked up that money? It was an undercover FBI agent. And you know what? Eventually they got the whole $500,000. And I'll tell you how I know that, okay? When they got the first 100 and Furtado tells these Mexicans of how much money, if they can give us 50 kilos every 2 weeks. And he's talking about how much money. I never dealt cocaine like that, okay? Now here he is, he's talking about it now these guys are not gonna do it until they get their $500,000 that Ricky owed them. And Furtado's saying everything's gotta go through Ori. So here I am, I'm in the middle. Now he goes back to New York. He talks to the acting captain, Michael Carapano, and tells him about all the money that they're going to make with Ori on this cocaine thing, okay? Hello, Nancy. Thank you for coming, kid, okay? Talks about all the money that they're going to make with me. Folks, I'm not going to do this deal, okay? Now he's got Michael Carapano. Yeah, this deal's going to happen. So now Michael Carapano keeps talking to him. Oh, when's this deal happen? When's this deal happen? Now the deal don't happen. Me, I'm a con man. So on a conversation with Furtado, I said, well, they brought it to me, but they want money. They want 50 grand. I said, send me 50,000. Now here I am. I'm going to try to con Furtado out of 50 grand. Well, he wouldn't send it. I didn't have it anyways, okay? All right? But now, Michael Carapano asked him one day, where's this money from Ori? And Furtado tells him, I think Ori's been doing the deal and not telling us about it, okay? So he gets upset. He thinks I'm doing the deal, making all this money. I'm not kicking up. He goes to Sonny for permission to whack me. And Sonny gives it to him. Yeah, that's how that started. Okay? That's how that started, folks. So guess what? When the indictment came down, guess who got indicted for conspiracy to distribute 50 kilos of cocaine or more? Me and Michael Carapano. You see how neither one of us never discussed it? Not a word between me and Michael about cocaine. Well, we were both indicted on that conspiracy. You see how they do it? Fortunately for both of us, Guy Furtado on a trial, on Michael Uvino's trial that happened before us, all right? He was such a bad witness, they didn't want to use Guy Furtado against Michael or me. So that's how that happened. All right, so you understand what I'm saying here, folks? Exactly how that happened. You gotta watch and see how dirty and crooked the FBI and the U.S. attorney is to go after Italians. You know, Aussie, why don't you go take a break, okay? You know, you come in late, you don't know what you're saying. You know, folks, one thing, you know, I'm also on TikTok where I got like 83,000 followers. Never, ever have I had any trolls or bad people coming on. You know why? Okay? Because YouTube allows people to have anonymous names. They don't have to use their real names. They can use a different name. TikTok, you gotta have your name. You gotta know they know who you are, okay? So there's a big difference, okay? And when I go on TikTok, I had yesterday I had 4,000 people come through. So there's a lot of difference here, and I'm sure YouTube, I got to tell the truth as I see it. Now, folks, what I'm telling you is the RICO Act was made and devised to go after Italians. That's it. That's my theory. I stand by it. I don't care what anybody else says. Okay? It's such, you could interview lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, and they'll tell you all the same thing. But here's the real reason Richard Nixon signed it. It became a powerful instrument in the Nixon administration's efforts to combat drug abuse. Yeah, drug abuse. You know all the presidents that have a war on drugs? And then you say the mafia, we're not supposed to deal drugs. But it goes right up to the bosses in the mafia dealing drugs. You think that they're going to overlook something that's making an awful lot of money? No way. Okay? Aussie, if you say you're only 12, Aussie, then you better leave if you're only 12 years old, okay? You know, I had so much more that I wanted to say about this subject. And as you know, I don't like to come on here and spend hours and talk and things like that there. Folks, if you're not, please subscribe to my channel. Help me out any way you could so I could continuously bring you, all right, genuine, honest content. That's all I bring you. I bring you truth and facts from the way that I see it, okay? And if you want to know more about me, folks, Google my name, okay? Or buy my book right here, all right? Thank you, Lost Man and his dreams. Thank you for that, hitting that super chat button. Anybody else going to hit that super chat today? All right, help this old man out here, okay? Thank you. Folks, I don't worry about the trolls over here, all right? And I'm not getting no more mods, okay? I don't need it. My son comes on occasionally and helps me, and otherwise, you know, because my son's got access to everything that I have. And without him, I wouldn't be doing this, okay? Yeah, Aussie, yeah, I'm going to send you a free book, okay? Just wait, okay? Go outside and wait for the mailman to bring it, okay? And you got to wait a long time, okay? I stopped. I don't give books free. When I do, sometimes I do a little special thing, and I give certain people a book, okay? And you know, I'll give a free book for anybody that gives me $100 donation. How's that? Okay? Or if you want to send, forget the 100. Let's call it, all right? Nancy Line, thank you for that $25. You had no idea how much that helps me. All right, I only got a few days the end of this month, okay? God bless you, Nancy. Nancy always comes true, okay? Folks, remember, if you haven't watched those shows yet, please do, because you will see that what I'm telling you is the facts and it's the truth. RICO was made up. The racketeering influence, corrupt organization was made and written up by non-Italians to go after Italians. You had no idea how hard my grandfather and our forefathers in the Italian culture had it when we came to this country. The prejudice. We were not considered white. I remember my father telling me story that during the Depression, him and my grandfather went all around the country, all right, every day looking for work. And they would have to change their names to non-Italian names, all right? Stand in line, just like you go to Home Depot or different corner here in Los Angeles, you see the Mexicans, all right, looking for work. The Italians did that back then, okay? Along with everybody else. But the Italians had to change their names to get a day's job. Folks, study your history. Read about it. Because what I'm telling you is the truth. I never come here and intentionally lie like a lot of people do. So, folks, I got a lot of work today to do. All right. Uh, Go, Louis, you asked me who, go and watch. It was about a week ago I did the show. You'll see it right there under my live shows. Okay, go and do a replay. And you, all right, Tempe, your nano had to do it in Australia. Okay, you see, we had it tough, folks. I'm not crying because we're tough. Okay. The name of my book is The Accidental Gangster, folks. From insurance salesman to Hollywood fixer. It's being made into a Hollywood movie. The script is written by George Gallo and Andrew Carson and being directed by George Gallo. And soon you will see it. See, there's somebody, all right, there are a lot of Dagos. All right, that's another name, okay, they call us, okay? They call us Dago, Wap, Guinea, many more things. People often wonder, why do the Italians and blacks get along so well? Well, now you know, okay? Yeah. Now you know, folks. Everybody, you know I always end, do something kind and nice for somebody else, and it will come back to you tenfold. I do it every single day, folks. I'm going to be 81 in 2 months. Well, Monkey, you know about the Androgata. Well, that happens to be, all right, the Calabrian Mafia, okay? And I am Calabrian, okay? My grandparents came from Calabria. That's another story. Help the lady next door, that's good. Okay? Hello, Ireland. How are you? I love it. We get people from Ireland, Germany, Australia, okay, from all over the world. Dutch, okay? I had a woman last week hit that thank button and gave me $65 from Dutch. All right? It was in Dutch. Okay? Very cool. So, hello, Patricia. How are you? All right, folks. Look at all my love and respect to you all. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed, all right, this little session that I had. All right? That's how it should be there, Chicago, low key. Okay? You know, people were telling me that, all right, that John Gotti destroyed the mob. That's so far from the truth, I can't begin to tell you. Okay? Yeah, John Gotti was flamboyant, okay, but there were other monsters in the other day who were much more flamboyant than him. Sonny Franchi, well dressed, was in the spotlight and all that there too. I'm going to tell you about John Gotti, who I met on 2 different occasions, all right, with Sonny Franchise in New York, all right? John Gotti was a real man. He was a real man. Can never take that away from him, all right? No way. He stood up, believed in the life, lived by the oath, just like a man should do. So I don't want to hear that he destroyed it because of his flamboyance. No way. Okay? All right? Thank you, folks. All my love and respect to you. Everybody have a great day. God bless.